Too young, some said. Too quiet. Too careful. But the moment her hands wrapped around the control yoke, none of that mattered. The cockpit was the only place where the noise of the world faded into the steady hum of the engine and the soft chatter of the radio. Up here, Emily felt certain. Up here, she felt ready. It was a clear Saturday morning at Hawthorne Regional Airfield, the kind instructors loved. Blue skies, calm winds, perfect visibility. Emily arrived early, her flight bag slung over one shoulder, checklist already memorized but still reviewed twice out of habit. She was flying a Cessna 172, the same training aircraft she had practiced in dozens of times. Her instructor, Mark Reynolds, stood beside the plane, sipping coffee while watching her perform the pre-flight inspection. "Fuel cap secure?" he asked. "Checked twice," Emily replied. "Control surfaces?" "Free and correct." Mark nodded, impressed as always. Emily wasn't flashy, but she was disciplined. 60 hours logged, solo endorsement earned just a week ago. Today was supposed to be routine. Takeoff, pattern work, a few touch-and-go landings, then back before lunch. Nothing heroic, nothing dramatic, just another step toward her private pilot license. After finishing the inspection, Emily climbed into the cockpit. The familiar smell of aviation fuel and warm plastic greeted her like an old friend. She adjusted her seat, buckled in, and placed her headset on. Mark leaned in through the open door. "I need to step inside for a quick call," he said. "You're cleared to taxi and take off solo. I'll be on the radio the whole time." Emily nodded. "I've got it." The engine started smoothly. Gauges checked, radio set. She taxied toward the runway, heart steady, breathing even. Solo flight still made her nervous, but it was a good kind of nervous. The kind that sharpened focus. "Hawthorne Tower, Cessna 39er Echo, ready for departure, runway 27, she said clearly. Cessna 39er Echo cleared for takeoff, winds calm. Emily lined up on the centerline. She took one last breath, pushed the throttle forward, and felt the plane surge ahead. The speed built quickly. The runway blurred beneath her. At 55 knots, she eased back. The aircraft lifted gracefully into the air. For 3 perfect seconds, everything was exactly as it should be. Then, bang. The noise was violent and metallic, like the plane had been struck by something solid. The Cessna jolted, dropping slightly, before Emily instinctively corrected with gentle back pressure. "What?" she whispered, eyes darting across the instrument panel. "No engine failure, RPM steady, oil pressure normal." But something was wrong. A strange vibration pulsed through the fuselage. The control yoke felt heavier than before. Her chest tightened as she glanced out the left window. She couldn't see the landing gear. Her stomach dropped. Emily leaned forward, trying to look beneath the nose. Panic clawed at the edges of her thoughts, but training held it back. For now. "Hawthorne Tower, Cessna 39er Echo. I think I have a problem," she said, her voice shaking just slightly. "Go ahead, 39er Echo. I believe my landing gear has separated after takeoff." There was a brief silence on the radio. Too brief. Then Mark's voice came through, calm but sharp. "Emily, this is Mark. Say again." "The landing gear," she repeated, swallowing hard. "I can't see it. There was a loud bang." Another pause, then, "Okay, stay calm. Maintain altitude. You're flying the plane." Those words hit harder than the bang itself. "You're flying the plane." Alone. Emily climbed to 2,500 feet as instructed, hands trembling, but controlled. Below her, the airfield looked suddenly small and far away. She imagined the landing gear lying somewhere near the runway, metal, twisted, useless. Her mind tried to race ahead. How do you land without wheels? What if the plane flips? What if I mess this up? She squeezed her eyes shut for half a second, then opened them. No, she whispered to herself, one step at a time. Mark's voice returned, steady and reassuring. Emily, listen to me. The engine is good. The plane is flying fine. We have time. Time, but also responsibility. Emergency vehicles were already rolling onto the taxiways below. Tiny red and yellow dots gathering near the runway. Emily noticed them and felt a sudden surge of fear mixed with disbelief. This wasn't a simulation. This wasn't a lesson. This was real. Check your fuel, Mark instructed. We'll need to burn some off. Emily nodded, even though he couldn't see her. Fuel quantity normal, switching tanks. She followed every checklist item carefully, her voice quieter now but more controlled. With each task completed, the panic loosened its grip just a little. Still, one thought kept repeating in her mind. I'm 17. I'm not supposed to be here, not like this. The radio crackled again. Emily, Mark said gently, I know this is scary, but you are trained, you are capable. I'm right here. She took a deep breath and stared at the horizon. The sky hadn't changed. The plane hadn't changed. Only the situation had, and far above the runway, with no landing gear and no instructor beside her, Emily Carter realized that her most important flight lesson had just begun. Each lap felt longer than the last, the steady drone of the engine blending with the pounding of her heart. Below, the runway waited, silent, unforgiving. Fire trucks and ambulances stood in a neat line along its edge, lights flashing, but sirens mercifully quiet. Fuel's coming down nicely, Mark said over the radio. You're doing great, Emily. Keep your altitude. She swallowed. I don't feel great. That's okay, he replied. You don't need to feel brave, you just need to fly the airplane. She let those words sink in. Emily reviewed the emergency checklist again, even though she knew it by heart. Mixture rich, fuel selector both. Seatbelt tight. She pulled it one notch tighter anyway. Door unlatched slightly, just as Mark instructed, so it wouldn't jam on impact. The reality of what she was about to do pressed down on her chest. I'm going to land a plane without wheels. She had watched videos of belly landings during ground school. Older pilots narrated them calmly, explaining how aluminum scraped concrete, how sparks were normal, how fire was unlikely if procedures were followed. Back then, it had all felt distant, academic. Now every word mattered. Emily, Mark said, his voice lowering, when you line up, aim for the numbers. Keep the nose up as long as you can. We'll cut the engine just before touchdown. She nodded again, hands firm on the yoke. Understood. The tower came on next. Cessna 39er Echo, wind calm. Runway 27 is clear. You are cleared to land when ready. When ready? Emily took one last look at the sky. It was still beautiful, wide, blue, indifferent. For a moment she thought about her parents at home, assuming this was just another training flight. She thought about the first time she'd sat in a cockpit at age 12, feet dangling, eyes wide with wonder. This is not how I imagined proving myself, she thought. But maybe this was exactly how it was supposed to happen. Mark, she said quietly, I'm ready. All right, he replied. I'm with you every second. Emily turned onto final approach. The runway stretched ahead of her, longer than it ever had before. Her speed was steady. Too fast would be dangerous. Too slow would be worse. She made tiny corrections, her movements precise, almost gentle. 100 feet. 50. Easy, easy, Mark murmured over the radio. At 20 feet, Emily pulled the throttle back to idle. Hold it off, Mark said. Hold it! The engine went silent. Time seemed to stop. Then the belly of the plane touched the runway. Screech. Metal screamed against asphalt. Sparks flew past the windows like fireflies. The vibration was violent but straight, just as Mark had promised. Emily kept the yoke pulled back, nose high, fighting every instinct to freeze. The plane slid, faster than she expected, louder than she imagined. Then slowly the noise softened. The sparks faded. The aircraft shuddered once more and stopped. Silence. Absolute, unbelievable silence. Emily didn't move. Her hands were locked to the controls, knuckles white. For a terrifying second, she wondered if something was about to explode. Then Mark's voice broke through the headset, thick with emotion. Emily, shut down the master switch. She did, her fingers clumsy now. You're safe, he said. You did it. The door swung open easily. Fresh air rushed in, carrying the sound she hadn't expected. Applause. Firefighters, mechanics, even the tower staff were clapping as she climbed out, legs shaking so badly she had to grab the wing strut for support. Mark reached her first, pulling her into a tight hug. I am so proud of you, he said, his voice breaking. You flew that plane like a professional. Emily laughed, then cried, then laughed again, all at once. The fear finally drained from her body, leaving behind nothing but exhaustion and disbelief. "I thought I was going to mess it up," she admitted. Mark shook his head. "No, you stayed calm. You followed procedure. You trusted your training. That's what pilots do." Later, after the reports were written and the aircraft inspected, the cause became clear. A rare mechanical failure, not pilot error. The landing gear had detached cleanly, nothing Emily could have prevented. But everyone at Hawthorne agreed on one thing. Very few pilots, student or experienced, could have handled it better. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, Emily sat on the edge of the hangar, helmet resting beside her. The plane lay scarred but intact on the runway, proof of what had happened. She looked at it and smiled softly. That morning, she had been a 17-year-old student pilot, hoping to log a few more hours. By afternoon, she was something else entirely. A pilot who had faced the worst alone in the sky and brought the airplane home.